10 years ago, I started to learn SEO from scratch because free SEO agencies failed me for 2 years. I wrote unique texts and bought more backlinks than my competitors have. It was enough to get organic traffic. Today, old methods don't work anymore. The main reason is that Google changes their algorithm 3000 times each year. It's equal 8 times per day. That's terrible, because many SEO guides don't provide value anymore. In this video, I'll tell you exactly how you need to learn SEO. Stand by, the best part is coming. What's up guys, Anatoly is here. Before watching this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video. You know, it's difficult to give all SEO knowledge in one video, or even to tell you need to read this article. You can get everything what you need in this article, or even to listen to any podcasts, or for example to read one book, because I don't think that this book exists. SEO knowledge is so broad, and you can't get this knowledge just by reading one stuff. And for example, I usually do every day. I read a lot of blogs and listen to audio podcasts, read marketing books, and watch YouTube videos as well. And for example, for blogs, I usually use website feedly.com. You can add all your living blogs there, and what you need to do, just scan the dashboard every day in order to find what is interesting for you, because you can't read all these articles, hundreds, thousands articles every day. And it's impossible to read all of them, and you don't need to do it, just to choose which are more related to your topic. And for example, if you don't know something, or try to find something unique there. And I usually do it every day, and when I read a new article, I share this article on my Twitter or LinkedIn account if I find some interesting stuff. And for example, I can make some notes, my private notes about some interesting stuff, and I always think how I can provide this knowledge for my website, for my clients' websites, and stuff like this. The second way is to listen audio podcasts, and what you need to do, if you have iPhone, you can use their application or a lot of different applications for Android. Just find some interesting podcasts, add to your application, and listen them every day. And I like this method even more than watch YouTube videos, because you know, sometimes you are tired, or for example, if you drive from one point to another and you don't have time to read or watch, but you can listen. You know, it saves your time, and you can get some interesting knowledge, because many great podcasts online. The third way, find interesting YouTube channels. You can watch them, like my channel, and yeah, get knowledge there, because you can't get from one video everything. Just watch a lot of different videos, and during some time you will feel that you have some knowledge. You can go ahead, and for example, you can choose what you can watch, what you don't need to watch. For example, I usually learn more about SEO, content marketing, and link building, and I skip about pay-per-click or social media. But you know, for example, last time I started to learn more about Twitter and LinkedIn, because yeah, it's important for me, you know, if you promote your website, to be active on social medias. And it depends on you. Just choose what you like more, and yep, and add all this information to your everyday schedule. For example, I usually spend from 2 hours to 4 hours every day just reading, learning, listening, and it helps me to get this knowledge. And I always can use some new methods for my websites. And for example, you don't need to use only standard recommendations, because they don't work. You know, for example, some famous techniques techniques like skyscraper technique. For example, for some websites it works, for other it doesn't work. And what I mean by that you need to find your own way, what work for your website, for your unique project and you don't need to use the same techniques, just adapt for your website. For example, if you want to use skyscraper technique by Brian Dean, just take something interesting there. Don't provide this technique for all your content. Just find some clickable, interesting content where people can share or link to this content and use this. And it's my number one tip: learn every single day. Read this information, learn this topic. Only it helps you to get more knowledge about SEO. And we go to the next chapter. The second my tip, that you need to create your content plan. If you don't have content plan, it's difficult to get any results because you don't know what kind of results you want to get. And it's common, many websites, more than 50% of websites don't have any content plan, and they want to get traffic, but they don't know what type of traffic they want to get. It's important to have this. And when I create content plan for my clients or for my projects, I always check what kind of traffic I want to get and who will be my competitors. Because for example, if I can't compete with Amazon, any big brands, eBay, Etsy, sometimes you don't need to do it. And for example, in marketing niche, many big websites like Moz, Ahrefs, SEMrush, Backlink, Neil Patel, and how I can outrank them if I don't have these resources to promote my website. And I have my own way. I usually try to find some content online where I have lack of quality, low quality. And what you need to do to create something better. It's skyscraper technique by Brian Dean. And for example, I usually use Ahrefs or SEMrush, where I can find some interesting content that were written many years ago, more than 3 years ago, and it's usually like thin content. And what I need to do to create something better, more interesting content with many pictures, more text, and to reply more questions in my content to help my future users. And after this, to promote this content, to reach out other bloggers who might be interested, to link to my content, or they link to my competitors. I can take their links. Yeah, it works. And what you need to do, for example, look here. For example, if you have better content than your competitors have, what you need to do next to promote that content. But sometimes you need to understand, even if your competitors have low quality content, but they have high authority. And for many users, authority, trustworthiness, expertise are more important than quality of content, and for Google as well. And Google might rank your competitors. And what you need to do to understand, for example, if you want to compete with Amazon and you don't have any traffic, you don't need to do it. Don't try, even if you create 100 times better content. Just try to compete with small websites in your league. For example, if you have less than 100 people a month, that it's your league, like websites that have only 1,000 people a month. Or for example, if you have more than 1,000 people, try to compete with websites who have like less than 10,000 people a month. It means that you have one league, and in that way you can outrank them. But if you want to compete with big websites, big brands, sometimes it's impossible, and you don't need to do it. Just go step by step and you will get results. And the main point what I want to tell you, just create steps. First, create content plan where you get organic traffic. It will be blog posts or webinars or videos or any other type of content. The second one, create this content, and third one, promote this content, because many websites have other mistakes. They create a lot of content without promotion, and Google won't rank these websites, and it doesn't work. And we'll go to the next tip. My second tip is to find your related keywords. I usually use professional tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, Moz, or SERPstat. It depends. My favorite tools is Ahrefs, but you can use other tools. They are great as well. And if you don't have budget, you can use Ubersuggest. It's free. This tool provides Neil Patel, and you don't need even to have registration there. And or for example, Google Keyword Planner, you can take information there. And what you need to do to find keywords which are more related to your niche. Don't try to use all keywords, just choose keywords that are more related to your business. And the next step, to choose a priority. For example, you can promote keywords with high level of difficulty, because many other big websites can promote these keywords, and sometimes you don't need to do it. You can check the cost in pay-per-click, or for example keyword difficulty, because many tools have own parameter of keyword difficulty. I usually choose keywords from 0 to 10. Because big tools, they usually have difficulty from 0 to 100, and for example I ignore keywords that have keyword difficulty more than 20. That means what you need to do to choose your priority. And the second one, make group of keywords, because you can't have all keywords for one page. It's important to have grouping of keywords, and because Google usually checks what type of content is related to your keywords, and you can't use all of them for one page or many other pages. Yep, it's important to have correct group of keywords, and you can check this manually, type them on Google to check what type of content is related to your group of keywords, and combine in one group. For example, some pages can have thousands of keywords, other pages like within content, or I don't know, with some little known product can have a few keywords. And it depends, of course, and what you need to do. Don't try to compete with yourself. For example, if you have the same keywords for two and many pages, Google will not know what type of content they need to rank, and after this you can lose ranking for all pages. And you need to avoid cannibalization in your content, just to work with grouping of keywords, choose prioritization, and after this, when you have these groups and have prioritization, the next step to write meta text, because meta text are the second important ranking factor, and Martin Splitt from Google rated to the second place. I think that even meta text have the first place, because 80% of users don't open websites if these meta texts are boring, and they think that perhaps they will not find any interesting information there. And yeah, you can lose 8 of 10 people. What you need to do to write some quality meta text that give the reason why people need to open your content. And I usually use some tricks, for example, to use numbers, brackets, some powerful words. It depends on you, of course, of your content, and what you need to do to spend some time, because many of your competitors, they don't have time, to write a lot of in their meta text, but you need to spend time there, because you can outrank them and improve your CTR, click-through rate, for your content. And this brings me to the next tip. My third tip: never rewrite other content. I can explain why. 10 years ago we rewrote many other type of contents, and in that point in time, we had ranking everything. But today it doesn't work, because Google checks user behavior, and when Google knows how people handle on your website, how their behavior, it's difficult to get high level of these results, because your users might see the same type of content on the top 10, and usually rewriters, I mean like copywriters who rewrites other content, they take this content from top 10. And you know, it doesn't work because you know, when somebody creates some interesting stuff, useful content, he understands what he've done. But if other writers just take this content, you know, it doesn't work, because it's difficult to create some interesting content just by using other content. For example, you remember when you traveled last time, what you do? You usually read some comments from people who visited this place where you are going to come, and for example, to read some reviews, feedbacks and stuff like this. It helps you to choose where you want to go. You will be interesting you to go to other places when you read fake reviews or fake comments, and people just take other reviews, and I think if they write new ones, it doesn't work. You will never go to this place. And it's the same with online content. You need to create something new. For example, remember some interesting books that you read in your life. I don't know, like Harry Potter. Will you read the same books, Harry Potter, from other author? If other author just rewrote Harry Potter, you will be not interested, because you know that you are interested only with the original version. It's the same with online content. You don't need to rewrite other stuff. And the main problem with that, for example, if you don't have time to write new unique content, you usually hire some people remotely, and you can use Upwork or many other websites, iWriter for example. And the main problem with that, you know, the writers and freelancers on this platform, you know, they just rewrite other content, and this content don't provide any value. You know, it doesn't help you to promote your website. You don't need to cooperate with these freelancers. The best way to find good writers is to find some bloggers in your niche who have other type of content related to your topic, and when they publish their own stuff, and you can check their ranking, you can check their comments, and if you see that people comment their content and this type of content rank on Google, that means it's interesting. It's better, you know, to pay 10 times more for these bloggers than for some writers on Upwork and many different platforms. And this content will bring more value in 100 times more than any other type of content. And for example, if you don't have a lot of money to pay for remote writers, just create less content. Don't try to create all content in the world. Just create some 2 articles per month, 1 article like Brian Dean does. You don't need to create a lot. It's better to create 1 piece of content, but high quality and unique content. And what I mean by unique content, for example, one time I wrote 1 article. It was big article with many explanations, many different points, but you know, many are the same articles online, and I didn't get ranking on Google, because Google, I don't know, Google has some mechanism to check uniqueness of your content. But if you write something new, some interesting article, and I did it, you know, I write some interesting article about SEO, and I got ranking with only 1 reason, because it was new. It was really new stuff, and it's interesting, you know. And for example, if you want to cooperate with remote specialists, it's better to find bloggers or journalists, because journalists, they usually provide only new stuff. They're interested to find some other angle, you know, or I don't know, any new stuff for readers. And don't work with any writers on Upwork or any other platforms, because they don't provide value. They just rewrite other stuff, and you will never get any results. Okay, go next. The next step is to find your buying persona. What I mean by that, you can't satisfy all readers, all people, all customers. You need to find that are more related to your products. For example, I have some friends that hate Apple, they hate iPhone, and many of them like Samsung Galaxy. For example, my wife, she likes to read all books about Harry Potter. She read them many times. I think that in future she will read one more time. And but for me, I never read this book, and I'm not going to read Harry Potter books. I think this format is awesome for people who likes this style. I like other genre. It depends on people, and it's up to you. And you need to understand one point: you can't satisfy all people. You can't satisfy all of them. Just find your buying persona. And for example, when I set up any advertisement on the internet, I usually try to find who is more related to my topic. For example, about SEO, that might be male, and male with 30 years old, and have some hobbies or job. And what you need to do to find all of them and set up advertisement for your buying persona, and it helps to promote your website. It's important today. I can explain why. Because online promotion is extremely competitive. Many competitors, they find our buying persona and they set up their advertisement to their buyer persona. If you make broad advertisement, you can't compete with them because you will pay a lot. For example, if you set up correct advertisement, and sometimes you can get more clicks, more sales, and you don't need to waste your money, especially if you have a limited budget like anybody else. And what I mean by that, that you need to find your buying persona. How you can do it? Just open Google Analytics, or for example YouTube Creator Studio. You can find all information, demographic data of your buying persona. And after this, for example, if you don't have any audience, what you need to do, open some internet studies, many studies about what people are interested about their age, about their nations, and any other stuff. And it's important today in modern marketing to have your buying persona. And we go ahead. My next tip is to create simple content. I remember one interesting quote from Einstein, and he told that everything should be made simple as possible, but not simpler. What does it mean? A lot of studies online show that people are interested to visit websites where they can find more quickly some information what they need to get. For example, if you want to visit any website, I think you don't care more about their design, some interesting stuff. You care more about your time. And all people are busy, they don't have time. What you need to do to create maximum simple content. You don't need to waste your visitors' time. And many website owners, when they create websites, they try to copy Amazon or Facebook. But these big websites, for example, about Amazon. Amazon has 3 billion products, and they have difficult structure only to satisfy a lot of users who use Amazon every day. And for this big website, they need to have this structure. For example, Facebook. Facebook had more than 2 billion, 4 million people. Just imagine this number. That means Facebook needs to satisfy their audience. And perhaps Facebook has some difficult structure. But when you have small projects, you don't need to compete with big websites. And even Amazon started to sell books. And and Facebook only service to universities, that's all. And what you need to do to create simple content, because people will love your content if it's simple and it's not difficult to understand. Even if you have audience, I don't know, some smart audience, don't make their life difficult, because if people will not understand your website structure, and they just skip it and forget about your website forever. And what you need to do to keep their attention and give them what they want in maximum quick way. Yep. And for example, when I write some articles, I try to skip difficult terminology, just use short words or short sentences. It helps to understand quicker my points. And yep, it's important for any directions, for any niches, that your content needs to be maximum simple. And we go ahead. My next tip is to use content marketing. What content marketing means? Content marketing is not only blog posts. It's more related to any other type of content where you can make brand awareness or to create some recognition for your brand. And content marketing doesn't mean that you need to sell your products, because it's more about topic to help people. When you help people, people will know your brand, they will know who helped them, and they will order in future from your products. And what you need to do to use content marketing without purpose to sell your products. Just imagine sales funnel. What does it mean? Many people especially when they start their websites, they think, oh, how I can earn, how I can sell my products. But today more than 70% of customers don't buy from websites if they don't know them. And for example, if they open your website, only 30% of them can buy if they didn't meet your website before. What you need to do, you need to consider that fact and promote other type of content that help people. For example, to write useful blog posts, or to create webinars, or many other type of content, to use email subscribers, to use social medias. And yep, it depends on your readers, on your site visitors, and what you need to do to use content marketing. Of course, the first step is to use blog posts, because when you write some long articles, you can get SEO traffic as well, to promote these articles, because according to Brian Dean, on the top 10 usually rank websites that have more than 1,800 words. That means it's a long step-by-step tutorials or ultimate guides. And what you need to do to create something long articles and promote them online. Or for example, you can use any other type of content marketing. And the main purpose of content marketing, don't sell your products. Forget about selling the products, especially if you start from zero. If you don't have any subscribers, followers, any audience, don't try to sell them. Just to use content marketing to help people, bring them value, and in future when you have some loyal audience, you can monetize, for example, to use pop-up windows or any different type of forms, or even it's enough to promote your brand. And when in future people might see your website, your commercial pages, they know, oh, this guy helped me, I think he is good, I think it's better to order his service because I trust him, I know him. Yep, it's important today to use content marketing if you want to get results. And just imagine, many websites have blogs. I think all famous brands have blogs. Even for example Facebook, they have blog, but they have blog on other website, fb.com, and I think it depends on your audience. For example, if you have high level of trust like Amazon, perhaps you don't need to have a blog to think only about SEO, and you can explain something new or provide some news. But if you start from zero, from scratch, you don't have your loyal audience like Amazon or Facebook, what you need to do is to provide value, to write some tutorials, guides, how you can help people, and it's only reason why you can get traffic. For example, 10 years ago when I started my first SEO website, I didn't think in that time about helping people. I just sold my products, and yeah, in that time it worked a lot. Today it doesn't work if you don't have if you don't use content marketing. And go to final tip. My last and final tip: forget about black hat techniques. It doesn't work today. Use only white hat link building to promote your website. Use outreach emails, to choose what type of outreach you can use, like skyscraper technique, broken link building, or guest posting. Even if you provide guest posting, you don't need to write to other bloggers and propose them money or any other stuff to submit your guest posts. Just provide value, like for your website, and write some interesting, valuable information. And yep, it works today if you provide only white hat link building. And it's not only outreach. Be active in social media platforms, because 70% of customers want to cooperate with their loving brands on social media. They might check your stuff on social media because they usually try to catch some discounts and any other stuff. And what you need to do: forget about black hat techniques. It doesn't work today. Forget about PBN, spam, and it works if you provide only white hat link building when you help people. For example, if you comment on many forums or any other platforms, what you can do: write some useful, valuable comments. It helps to promote your brand. But if you write only with purpose to get backlink, it doesn't work. It doesn't help to promote your website. And today Google see these techniques, and Google has own filters, has some manual team that can catch such websites. And yep, today it doesn't work. And it's better, to learn about white hat link building. A lot of interesting guides online. You can read them and choose which will be better for you. And that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, write comments, ask me a lot of questions. I will reply to all your questions, and see you next time. Cheers!